All right. Juliet Spiet asks, typical day for you in terms of movement and diet. Well, movement's really important for me. I try to walk as much as I can, but it's hard in LA, although I recently moved, so I'm in an area where it does feel actually quite pedestrian for LA. But yeah, I mean, I try to get to the gym every day, and I'm lucky in that I get to do that. I drive to the gym, I work out, I get a good, 45 minutes to an hour of combined weight training. I primarily focus on weight training, and then I'll like walk on an uphill treadmill for like 10 minutes most days. And then I do a little bit of functional movement, especially now in the post, ADR disc replacement surgery window. Every workout for me has now gotten a little bit longer because I always try to integrate some core stuff, whether it's like my spinal erectors or my obliques or whatever. I'm always trying to like strengthen my core to take as much stress as possible off of my spine. But yeah, so outside of the gym, I try to walk as much as I can, which doesn't always happen. I mean, if you look at my step counter, it's like sometimes miserably low, but yeah, that's what I do there. I don't do much else. I'm not like a big hiker. I'm not like obsessed with, I hate workout classes. I don't like group workouts. I don't like group hikes. I just try to walk as much as I can. Cause that's what I enjoy having grown up in New York City. And then I try to just like, lift heavy. And then diet, I kind of already touched on that. Protein rich. And yeah. All right. Laura Surrigs. I don't know how to pronounce that, but asks, what's one belief you used to evangelize that you have evolved on? What catalyzed the shift? That's a great question. I used to think that carbohydrates in and of themselves had more of a pronounced impact on health and one's predisposition towards insulin resistance. I don't really believe that anymore. I don't think that carbs are uniquely diabetogenic. Diabetogenic? I always forget that word. Yeah, I don't believe that carbohydrates per se are will uniquely increase your risk for type 2 diabetes, for insulin resistance. I believe now that it's more of a function of essentially energy toxicity. So too much energy coming in. And this is what the science has sort of shifted on as well. I remember there was one line in Genius Foods that if I could go back and rewrite it, Genius Foods is 99%. I mean, it holds up. I mean, I wrote the book to stand the test of time, but I think where I've evolved is in my understanding, and ultimately science has really kind of settled on I think more concrete understanding of what causes insulin resistance. And the science is always evolving, so science always reserves the right to change. But I think when I was writing Genius Foods, especially prior to a slew of metabolic ward studies performed by Kevin Hall and colleagues out of the NIH, the carbohydrate insulin model of obesity had a little bit more weight in the nutrition sphere. And it was my understanding and the understanding of many others that chronic elevations of insulin, chronic glucose spikes essentially wore out your insulin receptors and would, make you, as a result, tolerant to the effects of insulin, thereby creating the phenomena that we refer to as insulin resistance, which over time leads to chronically high blood sugar, which damages your veins and your brain health, et cetera, et cetera. But now I think the understanding that I have, and it's shared by many in the evidence-based community, and I think, and it makes perfect sense, is that it seems to be the case that when you become over fat when your fat stores fill to a certain point where they're no longer able to contain all of the energy that you've got coming in, that energy then gets stored in your organs. So whether it's your skeletal muscle or your liver or your pancreas even. This phenomena is known as ectopic fat storage, fat deposition. And it's that sort of overabundance of energy being stored in sites that are not meant to store fat. You get inflammation, and that's where this phenomena of insulin resistance arises from. And that can ultimately happen due to an excess of carbohydrates coming in, an excess of fat coming in. But typically in the context of the standard American diet, it's the influx, it's the ingestion of both carbohydrates and fat. So I don't really put any focus on carbohydrates anymore. I titrate my carbs up to support my performance, and then I bring them down if I want to enjoy more fats in my diet. But I think ultimately it comes down to energy balance, and there have been studies that have shown that all it takes is losing 1 gram of fat from your pancreas to essentially hit the reset button on your insulin sensitivity, provided it hasn't progressed to the point where you require exogenous insulin. So all that is to say, I hope that wasn't too boring, but I don't really put any focus on carbohydrates anymore. I mean, I still try to ingest, I try to prioritize whole food, high quality sources of carbohydrates, of course, but yeah, I think, you want to titrate your carbs up or down to support your performance. You want to titrate your fat intake up or down to support your dietary preferences and also hormone synthesis and the like, digestion, etc. But yeah, I'm not so much carb focused as I used to be. I'm not. Calories and nutrient density is the name of the game, and satiety, I guess, most importantly. Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.